Shanti. Welcome to all of you. We're recording this in the month of January 2024. And so happy Avyat month. I emailed Jendiben the other day and I said to her, happy Avyat day. And I thought quite pointedly, I can imagine her smiling. She responded to me, Helen, happy Avyat month. I think she was reminding me it's not a day. It really is for the Brahmins an entire month of special effort. And Baba's been telling us in messages, hasn't he, that this month he's giving us extra help. He's invoking us into the subtle region. The amount that you practice this month, it sets the foundation for this year and this effort. So we've got to make the most of it. We've still got 10, 11 days left, so we've got to make the most of it. So greetings to those of you here with me live, and also greetings to those of you watching online later on. And if you haven't joined us before, my name is Helen, and I'm a student of the London Centre in the UK. And the idea is that these chit chats allow students of the Brahma Kumari to explore concepts in the morals and share their experience. So today we're going to begin with thinking about this concept of the I and the mind. And there's something which I do repeat in my daily morally thought fairly often, that I think that there are three main consciousnesses that help us transition from body consciousness to soul consciousness. Um, the first one is that I am a guest. I am a guest. And this consciousness of being a guest is connected with the concept of being a traveler. So I, the soul, am on this continuous journey, and I have to be aware of the continuity. We have talked about this before in the Saturday chit chat, but it came up in a blessing this week or the end of last week, where Baba was talking about the vision of eternity and developing this eternal vision. And this is something which I continue to work with, and I suggest that all of you continue to practice this because I have very good experiences with this. And where I think Baba comes from is this perspective that there's no such thing as stopping and starting. And particularly for the all-round actors, the Brahmin souls who've gone around the whole drama from the start to the finish. There's no stop for us. This is our role in the drama. Out of us, Brahmavada is the leader, so he just touches the soul world and comes back down again. It's like instantaneous almost. He spends the least time in the soul world. But even for all the other Brahmins, it's not very long. I don't know. Thing is, in the soul world, it's not time like here. So I'm just using these words like second and minute, but I don't think it's measured like that. But it's literally instantaneous for Brahmavada because he's like the soul that is the seed of the drama, and he's like the essence of this drama. So he, summarily, Baba tells us, and it was something that I only became aware of when Devi Janki was reading the Morally once in London, and she pointed it out, that the soul of Sri Krishna is the one who takes the full 84 birth. And I would have missed that word full, like it would have just passed me by. I would have just almost heard it like he takes 84 births. But what she was emphasizing was there's only one who takes the full 84 births because there's not really a break for him. He has this unique role now where for 55 years he has taken himself out of rebirth. No other soul can do this. It seems to be a power of Prajapita, Brahma. So he has that break, but he doesn't stay in the soul world, really. So he has this continuous role that's occurring. And he says, you Brahmin souls, you're my companion. You also come around the cycle with me from the beginning until the end. So particularly for us, Baba is expecting us to see the eternity, the continuum. And he says to us in the golden age, there's no experience of death. There's the happiness of birth and the happiness of death. It's the same. And that's unique. And it's because there's no feeling. Like, although we change our body, it's almost, I think, like the soul feels like it's just one birth through the whole half cycle, just one, because there's no feeling of stopping and starting. Um, in the copper and iron age, it's a big trauma, whereas in the golden and silver age, there's the feeling of the continuum. So we lose that from the copper age onwards. But Baba wants us to re-establish this now within our consciousness. So Baba is saying to us that children, you have to make this switch inside of yourself, become soul conscious. You have to understand you're a traveler. The other metaphor that I like a lot of, I mentioned it the other day too. Baba is the ocean, and you see oceans are in one place, but we are the river, and rivers are on a journey. So if you think of yourself as just as a river, you are the eternally flowing river. You don't stop flowing. You're always flowing in this drama. Now, how can you, okay, they build dams, right? But that's like an artificial blockage. But you can't really stop the flow, like the rivers are just going to flow. And even if sometimes mountains are in the way or hills are in the way, they like still carve their route. And presumably, as time goes on, even dams will not stop them because river levels can rise even above that and become even more powerful than the dam. So you see, you're flowing, your soul, you as a soul, you can't stop flowing. You're a river. Now, this means that as a human being, we construct our sense of reality in between birth and death. But not really. We don't remember the first few years. So that I like maybe like 3 years old until now today. So our sense of self is this segment. But Shiv Baba is looking at us as something so much longer than this. We started off, and I think the picture of a staircase is a really nice picture because that's how a river flows as well. Like you could swap off the staircase and swap it into a river. That's how a river flows as well. So Shibaba's looking at us like that, that why are you looking at yourself with such a limited vision and consciousness, a very time-bound consciousness? And he says, just remember you're a guest. You're a guest in this body, guest with these people. And you're there temporarily. You're always flowing somewhere else. And when your time comes, you're just going to go. Like you don't ask for anyone's permission. No one asks you for permission. They're just going to go as well. So every soul is a river. So the second thing to keep in mind, linked with the guest, is that you're the trustee. If you're a guest, it makes you a trustee. And if they are a guest, it makes you a trustee of them as well. And so the mind is always an illusion because you're always a trustee. So even if we don't think we're a trustee, we are a trustee because those people were there before us, they're there after us. So like your house might have been there for many years before you, and then it will be there after you're gone as well. And as you all know, that I've had the opportunity to be in lots of old buildings at the University of Oxford. And the college that I'm part of, it has a big sign at the top, established 1509. And indeed, there are other colleges there that have to go back to like 1300 and something. So, and I often think when I'm in a place like Oxford, and you still got like cobbled streets in some places and things like, I often think, how many people walked on this pavement before? So these things are there, uh, and we are just passing through. And maybe I myself walked on that pavement in another body. I might have created some karma and then came back again to like I might have like even given a donation. This is how karma happens that that it tells us you gave a donation, you opened a school or some education donation, you then get a good education. I could have contributed in a past life, and then I'm coming back to study again. That these things can happen. So we lose perspective of the flow. The Buddha can see the flow over many many centuries. So we are a trustee. We're passing through. We're guests, and that means we are also an instrument for the drama because the drama has also a big flow of its own. Baba uses the phrase drama plan. And so there's a flow of the drama too. It's not just the flow of the soul, but the flow of the soul is also according to the flow of the drama. So there's a bigger force guiding the flow of the rivers as well. And this is the flow of the drama. And so we're just instruments for the drama. The drama is the big play, the script. But it says you're actors, and actors are just given a script, and then we put like an actor puts his own twist on that script, and you might watch the same production with another actor, and they do it slightly different, but the play is the play. So, like, how many times have we had versions of Shakespeare? But the play is the play, but the enactment is slightly different according to the act. So each of us is just an instrument for the play. The play is the play. So sometimes we're instruments for doing something good, sometimes we're instruments for doing something bad. It's already predestined in the drama. So those are like the big consciousnesses. So to set the scene. On a day-to-day level, though, I'm interested, those of you that are here with me, your thoughts on, I think particularly enacting all of this, there's more challenges when you're living outside of a center and of a government. I think there is a freedom if you're fully surrendered because it's not your house. It's not your car. It's not your thing. Now, Baba also warns brothers and sisters living in centers that you can get into limited eye and limited mind, and you can become like that. Debbie Gentry used to say that the biggest insult that they could get from Mama and Baba was them saying that you're a householder. They used to consider this to be a really big insult because you've lost your feel of surrender. And she tells the story of when Mama had visited the center in Pune for the first time. And you can imagine if a senior daddy is coming, you're basically flapping around. It's a lot of work, and she's invited everyone. So she wanted everything. She was a perfectionist as well. And so she wanted everything to be perfect for Mama. So when Mama was giving classes, she wasn't attending because she was looking after this and looking after that and running around. And so then at the end, she asked Mama, Mama, was everything fine? Did you like how everything was done? Could I have improved anything? And Mama said, yeah, everything was great. But Janet, they used to, Mama and Baba used to call Lady Janki the masculine Janak, rather than Janki, which is the feminine. They used to treat it like a son. And they said, but Janak, you've become a big householder. Very good. And Devi said it was like the earth opened up and she just wanted to be swallowed in that moment. And then afterwards, she realized what Mama was saying, but she didn't keep the balance of being a godly student. And this can be really. So I think on a foundational level, for those living with their family, the biggest, the foundation checking point is, are you missing your Amrit Vela? Are you missing your morally cleanse? And are you missing your evening yoga? Right? So that's your foundation of it. If you miss class, Mama and Baba are going to say you just become a householder. You're no longer a practice work because you lost your godly student feel. And people living in the centers also have to be careful about that, because you can get very tired. So many things are happening all the time. So um, we all of us, I've witnessed the senior daddies for so many years. They never miss this. They were so accurate with this because Mama and Baba also taught them these things. Another story that he used to tell is, I think either Baba was in Delhi or he was in Mumbai, and the daddy had traveled from her center to go and visit Baba. And obviously, you have that feeling you haven't seen Baba for a while, so the first thing you want to do is go and meet Baba, say hello, and you think that Baba's gonna, he's so loving anyway, and you think that Baba's gonna greet you with warmth and friendliness. And so she came into the room with Baba, and Baba just looked at her very sternly. And he said, have you read that you've been traveling for 3 days? Have you caught up with those 3 days, Marley? And she said, no, Baba, I thought I'd just come and say hello first. Why are you disregarding Shri Baba? Go and read. Shri Baba's bothered to come 3 days in a row to speak the Murli. Show your regard to Shri Baba first, and then come and meet Brahma Baba does not think that you're giving Brahma Baba regard if you haven't given Shiv Baba. This is how they, Brahma and Baba, they drilled into everyone. Don't miss the moral. Don't miss Amrit Vela. Don't get, you cannot just become a karma yogi like that. You're just constantly doing. You have to have a balance. So I think that would be my first contribution there, that if you're living in the household, firstly just check that thing. And if you have lost that balance, you definitely have come into iron line. Definitely. And I wonder, those of you here, would you like to share your thoughts and how do you keep the balance there? And what are the challenges in your circumstances?
Oh, Shanti, I believe when you live in a household and there are several people in the same home with you, it's a little bit difficult in that you get up for Amrit Vela and then suddenly somebody else wakes up and you're disturbed because somebody will call you while you're in that process of your meditation. Or even if you're reading the Murli, you're sitting down quietly reading the Murli, somebody comes and interrupt you because they need something. So that's the kind of challenge that I face daily. Um, Evening, the same thing with the evening meditation. You'll sit for meditation and then somebody needs something, or they come to, because I'm like the main person in this home. So everything is around me. So this is the challenge I'm having. It's not that I don't want to have my Amrit Bela, specifically at this time. For me to do that, I have to wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to have that private time. And I'm thinking I have to make that effort. I have to make that effort because after that, 4 o'clock in the morning or so, there is activity in the home. And the evening time, I have to just seclude myself wherever it is. But I always believe there is a way to do things. It's just that you have to just be so disciplined with it. Um, so that's my take on it. It's just you're not in a home by yourself, even you have so many people around, so you're constantly being disturbed. And it, you feel that you're letting Baba down. You're not doing um, you know, Baba looks at you as a child who could do better, and you're not doing you're not following his Srimat totally. Although in your heart you want to do that and it upsets you. So that's my challenge.
Yes, I've been to your home. I can empathize with that. I think that is a challenge. Um, I don't know if anyone else has any suggestions for you. If you do, you can mention it. I think maybe you do just need to get up a bit early and maybe even once a week, start off like that. But, have a 2 a.m. once a week and give yourself, yeah, really charge yourself up for the week. The other thing I know that you like to do is walk. And of course, at this time it's a bit cold, but in the summertime, um, those walking solitude type of moments, I think are invaluable. And so I think you can definitely use the warmer months to just get out of the house, go for a walk, for no particular purpose, but just walking with Baba. Brahma Baba himself used to walk a lot. And it's this, there's something also, I think it's a different type of meditation when you walk as well. Like there's a good feeling about it. And you have another type of experience.
I realize that when you walk, you have all that private time, and then you could spend that time totally with Baba. I have experienced that on my own. And I think I could do it in the home, just walking up and down, just doing that as well. So I have
Mm.
to find a way. I think I will find a way from all that you have said and explained. Although I know that we are a guest, we're a traveler, I try to practice all that, but sometimes it just gets into the background and life takes over. But
Mm.
walking has been a tremendous help even in meditation for me.
I
Okay.
also think it's more of a challenge for mothers and mother figures, grandmothers, mothers, because, Baba says this in the Morally, doesn't he, that if you haven't had children, don't have children in this verse, because the thing is, how do you not be a parent? Like it's just, especially for a mother, where it's like it's an umbilical cord connection. It's there's a part of you that's living within that young person, and so I just think it's more of a challenge, particularly if you're a mother. And if you think that whole role of the mother, that identity of the mother, it is about doing these things, isn't it? It's like, for example, I remember talking with one mother many years back and when I was living in London, and she was saying to me the most difficult thing for her is her son. His son was not a BK and he got married and was doing his own thing. And she said that she doesn't have anyone to cook for. And you see, that also just brings it home. I think my mother, Engine Ben, is also like that as well. It's like it's very important to cook something for someone. And you don't enjoy just cooking for yourself in that way. I think if you're just a single person in the first place, then you're used to just cooking for yourself. You might like cooking for others, but then they come and go. It's not like every day. But uh, I think there's certain why we forget the guests and the trustees is because we've got many, many deep scars of these roles of being the father and a mother. Indiben of the Leicester Centre had visited maybe about 5 years ago. I'd had an eye operation at that time, so she thought she'd come and see me after that operation. And she brought one of the Kumars from Leicester. He had driven her down, and he must be somewhere around about 25, 30, maybe 30 years old at that time. And for young brothers, when you're at that age, you've got all the conflicts of, do I get married, attraction. So one thing that perhaps we don't talk about that much in Brahmin life, but maybe we should talk more about, is age-related samskar. So I also was a child and have grown up and had the BK sort of heritage and culture as I've gone through many different stages of life. And for example, in my teenage years, so say, yeah, when I joined high school from about year 11 years old to 16, 15, 16 years old, I never really went to the center very much. I would maybe once a month or something like that, and occasionally, because to be honest, my entire consciousness was focused on playing football, playing soccer. I was just playing soccer all the time. And I was part of three football teams. And my mother used to come back from the class on a Sunday, drive me to football matches, and so on. So my world was that, it wasn't really, I knew the knowledge. And like every evening before sleeping, I used to listen to the Murlis. So many of the Murlis I can remember. I, I found it difficult in my teenage years to sleep. I was a bit of an insomniac. I think many teenagers are. Their bodies are going through changes and so on. So I used to find putting Babas morally. I also think I learned Hindi a lot that way because I had Babdada's voice in the whisper and then Sheila Ben's translation. In those days, it was cassette. And you sort of get used to hearing both the Hindi and the English. So uh, that was my connection. And then you see, at the right time, I was turning 16, something like awakened inside of me. And also, there was a Kamar's group that is started by Shashin, by the daddy was very keen on. And we began, so I had some company as well. So other people of my age, and they were studying the Murali each week. And I was just being given a Murali to study. And I just began to really get hooked on reading Murali. So that's how it all started for me. And I just decided, okay, um, I will. I remember what had happened was because on the soccer pitch, it's very competitive, and I was quite an aggressive player as well. So I remember feeling quite bad about how aggressive I was. And I thought to myself, right, from tomorrow I'm going to go to the class every day. And I just began going at that age. And then you fast forward another 10 years, and I would say 25, 35, 40 years old, something like that. This would be the phase in most lives where you get married and then you have children. So I'm 46 now, and obviously times change. But looking back, I think there are different sanskars that emerge at different periods of life as well, because we are old souls. So we have spent many lives playing these roles that, like in this life, I've not been a father. But I was saying to Indiben in that visit, because I think this brother, he was conflicted about attractions to girls and so on going on. That can happen. It's like, I think partly biological as well. This is why I do think our body affects us as well. Um, and I was saying that I was never really attracted by girls, but I always had this fatherliness about. So I used to be a primary school teacher. I used to lead children's class schools in at the London Centre as well, and children's retreats and so on. And looking back, I think it was a channel for that fatherly. I don't think I was conscious of it at that time. So I would have just seen it like I'm doing Baba service. But looking back, I definitely think a percentage of it was not really purely Baba service. There was a part where I was fulfilling my own something, fulfilling my own needs. So probably I only accumulated like 50% because, but I was not that conscious of that at that time. And this is why sometimes I've shared with you all that I think sanskars can be very subtle. Yeah, we're not even, we're like unconscious. And over the years, we wake up through the moralities, daily having yoga, our intellect wakes up gradually sometimes to becoming more and more aware of unconscious samskaras and subconscious samskaras. Baba was saying to us last Sunday that everything's going to come out at this time, but it's coming out to finish. So don't worry, you just keep going. So there'll be samskaras you didn't even think you had. And he talks about this in some Murlis as well, because even like Brahma Baba, the Murlis we're hearing, Brahma Baba would have been in his late 70s, 80s, that sort of thing. And there would have been BKs that age in the class. And we don't hear the question that the BKs have asked, but we can guess what that would have been. So there's some Murlis where Baba talks about how even though we get older, Ravan always stays young. And what he's saying is that these older people, they would have been saying, look, I'm 75 years old and I got all these lustful feelings and stuff. So the way Baba phrased it is, you're old, but Ravan is still young. And so this is why he uses this phrasing in the Murlis, that Ravan never gets old. Because it's so true. I think especially for men, like you hear this in the world, don't you? That some 80-year-old is married some 25-year-old. And like this, and maybe they're like a millionaire, and it happens like that. So you get many things like this happening, and so Baba would have been viewing all of this, going like, "You got to be aware. Ravan will attack you till the end. Don't get complacent, thinking, oh, I've conquered Ravan. I don't have any lustful feelings anymore." But you don't know when Ravan emerges again at some point, and it can deceive you. Oh, I've conquered anger. You don't, suddenly something pushes your button and anger emerges. So, um, I was saying to Indivan at that time that, for me, the challenge was not being a father really, in this lifetime. And I think it was back in 2000, I think it might have been 2010, 11, something like that. I wrote a letter to Bap Dada because I was struggling with the type of sanskar. And I wrote, I know Shashi Didi, who is the sister who brings the Bhog messages in Madhuban, because me and Ranjan Ben have been going to Madhuban since the 1980s. So we know all these sisters from back then, back in the day. And I wrote to her to say, look, I'm having these such power, no matter how much yoga I'm having, I can feel the drive of these samsthanas. So I was saying to you all the other day, maybe yesterday as well, in the class, that um, how these old sons, when it's the karmic account, the samskaras come like with a force, like they're overwhelmed. So I was like working for a number of years on just this pull towards this Vadilina having, and I just was not like succeeding in subduing these samskaras. And so I thought I'd better write to Baba. And I wrote to Shashi Devi saying, I think I'm going to need some help here. And I think she would have told Baba. And he said, well, look, we in Madhuban as well, we're going to send our vibration. It was an amazing experience. Like somehow my efforts were not great. And I felt like that operated on me, like surgery, like something just lifted out of me. And so then I went through that phase and then I haven't worked with children for the last going on 10 years now, 9, 10 years, but I don't feel a pull, and I can tell that Baba has now, this morning as well, it was in the blessing about returning. The blessing, I think, was from that morally we heard a few months ago about having a satisfied chit. So, Ratan chit. And he was saying that the opposite of that is freshness chit, the chit that's asking questions. And in that morally, he was explaining to us that when your chit is dissatisfied, it will bring desires into your mind, it will bring questions into your mind, it will influence your mood, it will affect your relations. So the chit, the subconscious driver, it manifests in the mind in all these different ways. So I knew this was something from my chit, like it was like past lives where the identity of being a parent has been so important to me. And Baba tells us you take good and bad samskars with you when you leave the body. So I think I had taken these samskars, these are like unresolved samskars, I brought them with me in this life. Of course, with knowledge and yoga, I have to deal with these samskars. And Baba helps us. So, like I say, this last number of years now, I'm not struggling with. I don't feel that anymore. But it was so powerful for me for a number of years. It might also be that I'm older now as well. So it could have been like a phase of life as well, because it was connected with the years where we usually become a parent. So I think for those of you that are parents now, although I haven't been a parent in this life, I feel some empathy. Because especially when you're like a primary school teacher and things, you're almost like that type of you have that type of personality as well. And also, I'm someone who cares for relatives as well. And I have quite a lot of mental illness within my family. So from a young age, I've had to be like a parent as well within the family. And even now, I sort of run everything, really. So I have empathy, even though I'm not a parent of children within this lifetime. And I just think to myself that it's good that drama protected me from not having children in this life. For example, I think if I hadn't come as a child, I'm not sure I would have come to that, because I would have just been so sucked in to that. Right? Like my best friend at primary school, um, we're in touch through Facebook, and about 8, 9 years ago, we'd also met for a reunion. I met him there. I hadn't met him since he was 11 years old. But his family used to live near to ours, so we were always like together for things. And I saw that he had had a first marriage and had a son. And then when I had got to know him again, he was in between, so that marriage had broken down, and he was in quite a depression. Like you could see he was in a mental health crisis really at the time I had met him. And then subsequently, he's met someone else. They've then had 2 children. And what I saw in that soul, you see, sometimes we become friends with souls where you've got shared karma and also shared samskar. So I look back now with hindsight, and many of the friends that I had when I was at primary school, secondary school, there was a matching of samskar. And um, I could see myself in this brother. because now he's got children again and they're like 2 years old and he's happy. His mental health is, and I think I would have been just like that without that. I can see myself how I would have been without that. Because I think without children, and this is why people want to become grandparents as well, don't they? Because that need within them to have younger children is then fulfilled again. Some people are the opposite. They're like, bring them once a year and then don't come too often. So some are the opposite, but I would have been someone who always needs children around, always needs a full house, that type of thing. And I can see that in my friend. He needs that. Otherwise, his mental health just goes down the wrong route. So, of course, he doesn't have Baba, but I had to work with knowledge and yoga because I have to change my sanskar. I have to change my nature. I can't use those body conscious methods to do that, but I can appreciate the Brahmins who struggled and then they've gone and got married. I really have no judgment towards that because I can fully appreciate. So even while you're speaking and things, I can understand. I think it's a challenge, but I hope what I shared gives you that perspective that you are going to have to also now empower another set of identity, which is the godly student, the Raj Yogi, and the Raj Rishi. So once when I was 17 years old, Devi Janki um, gave me, well, uh, she'd always said I was a Raj Yogi, but she said to me that Baba had shown her that I was going to become a great Raj Rishi when I was older. And that the older I get, the more powerful I will become. And she said that the place where I live, it's going to be a place where silence spreads out. And it will spread throughout the UK first, and then it will spread right around the world. So she had this very powerful vision, and I'm working now towards this. So trying to move myself from being the Raj Yogi to the Raj Rishi. This was my effort. And you see, the Raj Rishi is complete disinterest, like forgetting this world and accumulating the siddhi. So again, this was in one of the blessings this week as well. You have to become full of all the siddhi. You have to have all the spiritual capabilities through your yoga. And the Raj Rishis in devotion and the path of bhakti, they're remembered in the scriptures. And you see, these rishis are very interesting because they are householders, you see. So they are married and they have their own, sometimes they have their own children and everything. But then they become rishis. And also, the interesting thing about the rishis, so it's different to the Brahmin priests that you would know about who do rituals and things. And they are like the Brahmin caste, and that's like a caste system. But many great rishis, but very, very famous rishis who've written scriptures, even, they are actually from the lower caste. Like they're like Dalit. They are like, as far as I know, the Rishi that wrote the Ramayana scripture, he was from the Dalit caste, the Shudra caste, like that. So these rishis are they are like diverse, and it's through their spiritual effort that they and the stories are like even in the Copper Age, they were able to use their spiritual capabilities. Some of them even to have children. Some of them they could produce like food. So there's a famine, they produce food for the village. There's lack of water, they can make it rain. Like that, they can control the elements. So they've got these magical powers through their endeavor. So what Baba is saying to us is you are going to have to transform the five elements. Yeah. So first you've got to change your sanskar. Then, if you can change your sanskars, you will unlock these capabilities. And ultimately, the Brahmin has to change the elements of nature from Tamopradhan to Sattvapradan. Now, that is such a big task. And he says it can't be done by one person, it has to be a collective. It takes a lot of Raj Rishi to do this. So I think for all of you living, you see, for me, it's easier because I got my uncle living with me at the moment, but he's also going to leave in the next few weeks. And he wants to. So it'll just be me and Ranjan Ben again. And for many years, it was just us, like 30 years or 5 years. So I've not actually lived with non-BKs for a long, long time. And even here, actually, he doesn't cook or anything. So we don't actually have any conflicts or any. And I bought a house that was big enough to have a separate Baba's room. So there's physical space as well is protected. But uh, for those of you who can't do that, this will be your challenge. That how much can you empower this side of you? Because the sanskars of being a parent, grandparent, they will be very strong. Because you've reinforced those for so many years, you'll be very good at those things. Running a house, budgeting, earning money, managing money, looking after. You're expert on those things. But what Baba teaches us is like a Raj yogi might not be a householder, but a Raj Rishi is someone who. So, for example, King Janak, he gives that example, the famous, like a legendary king, and probably maybe he existed as well, but like it's like a more of an example of a Raj Rishi, really, where he ran his kingdom and he was able to focus on his spirituality and develop spiritual capabilities. And then Shiv Baba gives us the example of Brahma Baba all the time. The Brahma Baba was running everything. So how did he manage to become the angel? And then we saw after Brahma Baba, the daddies were running everything. So it's not really that different because they are running, they're responsible for cooking, getting money and eating and so on, and looking after so many people, so many different sanskars, so many different natures and so on. So they never reduced their yoga. They were able to create a stage of constant yoga. The other week we heard that morally after Daddy Chandarani left the body as well. And so they have achieved this stage of the Raj Rishi. So he doesn't change it. He doesn't say that because you're living in your household with your family, you don't do it. Because you're looking after big centers and many, many centers and things, you don't have to do it. People who are more free, they do it. No, you all got to do it. You all got to do the same thing, same morally, same standards, same thing. You got to all do it. So I would say that the conflict will be the over empowerment of the parent side and the under empowerment of the Raj Yogi and the Raj Rishi side. And if you can get that more empowered, it will become more and more easier to come. Anyway, I've talked a lot. Let me hand over to all of you. What would you like to say?
That was tremendous knowledge that you gave us there. Appreciate it so much. It clarified a lot.
Well, I think Baba appreciates the mothers a lot. He he understands. You see, he understands the mothers as well. There's many challenges, but if you also look at how the uniqueness of Baba's religion are all of you in the household. Right? I can't think of another religion where Baba has the same rules, like the same study, the same lifestyle for the householders as for the center people. It is exactly the same. The same for if you're a senior daddy and if you are the first day coming to the center, right? It's exactly the same. I can't think of another religion that does that. So you are the unique people of this religion. Malaban, Shadaban, did you want to share anything?
Thank you. That was absolutely very, very helpful. Just thinking of the set of circumstances I'm in. What I tend to do is practice the guest consciousness a lot. The second thing is the drama, and that really comes to it really and reinforces that regardless of what's happening, it's meant to be. It's a fixed drama. I can't change it. So it's pointless of me even trying to butt my head against that boulder in front of me. And for me, that's a really powerful practice. So Amrit Vela, evening meditation, that's fixed. Nothing, no one can bother that. Even if there is something there, I would just say, this is my time with Baba, and that's it. And everyone knows that. So no one actually even attempts to bother me at that time, including friends, relatives, etc. Because I just don't answer the phone. And I actually tell them, I said, this time to this time is just sacred time for me. And so I kind of draw lines. And even in the office, I tend to do that, like during the top of the hour traffic control. I tend to like do my traffic control like 5 minutes before, like, because normally meetings I would be top of the hour. So I think it's a lot of discipline, a lot more. And I remember reading one of Baba's movies. He says householders get some percentage more points, right, for at least attempting. Yeah, so those are the things I try. Can't say I succeed all the time, but again, it's just a question of perspective. And I think one thing just brought my attention just now when you said the mind creates illusion. I was quite intrigued with that statement. I just wonder if you could expand on that. Okay.
So yeah, I think you're totally right. So that probably is a good piece of advice for you, Lynette, and that you might need, it's probably not in your personality to create boundaries and rules. It's not a grandmother thing to do, is it? But it's something which you might need to do because, yeah, precautions about, I think Shayla, because I think both of them, even though they didn't meet Daddy Janki's some stars have gone into that because Daddy Janki just was like that. And so she was, you've got to just have protected her. Um, for her as well, Daddy Janki, everything stops 7 p.m., everything stops. And she just goes for yoga. And so I don't know if there's any other way. The other thing behind the boundaries thing, I am, the older I'm getting, the meaner I'm getting. So I was a much nicer person when I was younger. But because there's this sanskar of feeling you got to always please everyone, you got to always, and it's something like we also feel like, oh, I've got to say Haji because that's also Baba's values and got to serve everyone. So brothers and sisters living in the centers as well will have this sanskar that we've got to always serve, we've always got to try and accommodate, we've always got to try and adjust. But actually, there's never an end to it. So more and more, I just say to myself, well, actually, I have fulfilled my responsibilities. I have done it. And it's okay for me to draw boundaries here and to say no to this and not go here. And I don't run around. I used to run around so much before, and I don't run around here. And yes, I agree. Shayla Ben's also saying about the need for communication. It's like it's very odd for family members when you have bad kids. They don't get it. So the first reaction might be they might have some reactions to it, but then after a while, they begin to get used to it as well. And we've got to just sort of have those. Then in terms of the mind creating illusions, you see, if we think about what Baba's telling us, he's basically saying that we didn't live in the reality for the whole of the copper and the iron. We have invented a reality that we were then existing because we were never the body. These people, these things were never mine anyway. But what happens from the copper age onwards is this emptiness that begins inside of the soul. Baba tells us that the soul moves in these degrees. So he says they're called celestial degrees. And he uses the example of the moon, but it doesn't quite work because the moon waxes and wanes, but the soul just wanes. It just goes down. And so he says you go down from 16 to 14, 14 to 12, and being 12 degrees at the beginning of the copper age seems to be the tipping point where the soul begins to feel something's better inside. And ever since then, we have been trying to fulfill ourselves. And we start off, something emerges within us, emerges within Brahma Baba first, but emerges then within all of us, of a memory of Shiv Baba. So the first thing, instinct, we need something, we begin to think about Shiv Baba. And so he says, you did unadulterated devotion of Shiva. But then still there's something missing at that point, and we would have lost our spiritual capability, particularly to create children. So I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure because I haven't got morally quotes to back this up. So this is just my supposition. I think we lose our ability to create children. And so then there's a crisis, first crisis of the cycle. And we then Baba says, the deities come onto the path of vice, they come onto the path of sin, and we become human beings. So that would be presumably because we're no longer able to create children through purity. So then we begin using a physical method. I also speculate whether this is going to happen now. That will we? There's some like science fiction stories and other literature where authors have envisaged a time where humanity can't have children anymore. And sometimes these authors, it's like they're getting like a premonition, like maybe it's a memory of the previous cycle, like that emerges and they write the story again. And I wonder whether as the golden age comes closer, whether being able to have children through Vasa, because the time of being able to create children through purity is going to begin. But maybe that's what happens at the beginning of the copper age as well. So the thing about devices, once you use them, you can't be free of them. You're just tied to, it's like Maya's trap, it's Ravan's trap. So we become takers, or all of the vices are to do with taking something. So if we think about it, then from that moment, this foundation of needing, this foundation of then, like if you think about it, when the soul is full in the copper and iron age, the energy, the relation with the body and the relation with the world is one of giving, right? Because the soul is full. So the energy is of giving. And Baba says the deities are bestowers. They are devta, is data. So the energy is giving. But from the cockroach, it's giving and taking. Right? It's a different dynamic of energy. So the relationship with the body is also different. I need my body to fulfill me. I need other people to fulfill. So I need roles, I need power. I was sharing with you the other week that I think everything comes back down to love, truth, and power. So in the golden and silver age, love, truth, and power are not they're not needs. But from the copper age, they're all need all the time. Everything we do is needing one of these three. So the mind is developing sanskars because the mind is connected with the sense organs. The mind is like the two-way, it's like it's like an agent. So the mind is in between the soul and the elements of nature. So the mind is connected with the soul, and the mind is connected with the body. The body is connected with the outside world. So we know even from biology, don't we, that even how the body sees the world is not actually how the world is. Our brain is interpreting the world. And for example, there are some animals they can see, and birds, they can see different light spectrums, and they can see other things happening in there. We can only see what our brain limits, and the different sense organs limit what we can perceive of the world. Even the physical world is different to how we can do. So the mind is this agent in between the soul and the world. And the soul is becoming more and more needy and more heavy. So the mind is this agent trying to strike deals outside. Oh, this person can sort you out. This role can sort you out. This activity can sort you out. So the mind is all this time. But actually, nothing sorts us out. Nothing sorts us out. We become more and more unfulfilled. And we have so many traumas. We find something, oh, this person is great. Yeah, I'm really happy. They suddenly die. Even more traumatic. And so the soul is becoming more and more insecure. So the coping mechanism of the mind is this illusion of I and mine. The Bible says that there are no such thing. But like if you think about like if I was writing a story for the world and I was doing some sort of drama proposition for TV, how would I write it? I would write that this person meets this other person, they fall in love, and they say, what would the dialogue be? I know this is forever. Yes, we're going to be together forever, and we're going to love each other forever. So think what the mind is doing here. It's it's not going to be forever. It is not even possible that it could be forever. And in fact, it could be very short. But maximum it's going to be a number of decades, that's it. And then the body dies. That's the way. But what is the mind doing? It's setting up a relationship based on illusion. And then again, the thing about children is this is what I mean, that once you have children, part of your identity is in them. It's like it's an illusion, isn't it? But it's so like because our pride, our attack. So, like if someone praised, oh, I met your son today, and such a polite young man, and you feel like you've done such a great job. What a great parent you are. And then if your child has misbehaved and the teacher calls home, your child was very naughty today, you feel like you're the worst parent in the world. You just can't like decouple from that. Again, it's an illusion of the mind. You are always a separate soul, and they are a separate soul. But how body consciousness works, it's an illusion. So this is why another definition of Maya is illusion. So Maya is constantly full of illusion. Um, that is saying, look, you've got to now see through Maya. You have to identify Maya in advance. Know yourself, know others, know everyone's nature, know everyone's sanskars, and just maneuver around. Shiv Baba is the only one without any illusion. Brahma Baba is an angel, he's got no illusion. But everyone else, there's always going to be a level of illusion because they're down. This is the world of Maya. So in this way, we've got to, this is why I think we wake up a bit over time as well. So we've got to just keep going with our study and we become more and more aware, more and more conscious. And without the daily yoga and murali, we just go back to sleep straight away. And I think where we all got to keep a target is the 8 hours yoga class. I think if there was, Baba wouldn't just be saying that. I think there must be some calculation here. Like, why did he say 8? Why not 9 hours? Why not 7 hours? Like, why not? I think there's something here with the 8. I think that if we got the 8 hours, I think we then stay awake from the illusion. Otherwise, it's just so normal for us to be back in the illusion. We just will go into that again. Does that answer the question, Malavi?
Fantastic. Indeed, indeed. Because one of the practices I'm doing is also just watching the illusion from that perspective of pulling back and watching it. And it clearly identifies so that the illusion also shows up the roles, sanskaras. So that's also being watched without judging. But there was one really on dreams. I was looking for that and I couldn't find it. So if you could, if you know exactly which year that was, because I think Baba explained this, what you just said just now as well. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a couple of dreams. So yeah, I can look that up and let you know. The one that does come to my mind is the Millennium Murali, 31st December 1999. So you can have a read of that one, 31st December 99. I do want to read it again in one of these chit chats, and it's this one about the role of the subconsciousness, and because Baba doesn't talk about subconscious mind that often, but he even uses the English word subconscious and subconsciousness in that one. So that would also be linked with dream. But also the word chit that is also linked to dream as well. So it's the what's going on, like whatever we're thinking about and feeling in the day, it gets filled in the chit and it will emerge in your dreams as well. So this is why Baba, there's one morally where Baba says that you've got to clear everything before you sleep of that day. Because if you haven't done that with Baba, then your whole night will be spent on that. And the subconscious mind does weird things, isn't it? Weird, all of the things we see in the day. But I think these are deep topics and we should dedicate separate chit chat to them. And what I would say is just there's I think not to panic as things emerge. I feel that that was one of Baba's very important messages in last Sunday's lightning. The black clouds, the dark clouds of different samskars, different karmic accounts, they're coming out to finish. but they're going to come out. Because what drama is doing, drama doesn't want us to be punished in front of Dharma. But it tells us that if we're punished in front of Dharma, our status is reduced in the golden age. So what drama is doing is accelerating everything. And as I was saying yesterday morning, that before we had many births in front of us, so you could settle your account slowly. But now there are no such births in front of us. Everything now has to be settled. So many different identities from 63 births, they will emerge inside of you. So I gave you some examples now about, even though I'm not a father in this life, I understand these are past something emerging, but they can dominate you. And if you think about what is our usual life, like if we weren't with Baba, what is our usual life like? And okay, we're children, and as children, we're mainly influenced by our parents and our caregivers, and we absorb those sanskars. Then we absorb the sanskars of our friendship group, and we take those with us. Then we go to into our first job, and we identify with those roles and those careers, and we absorb those identities into ourselves. Then we're married, and as I've already mentioned, our children become a big identity for us. And then they grow up, and we want to see them graduate, and we want to see them go into their career, and we identify with that. And then there's grandchildren, and we identify with that, and then we die. Right? I mean that, and then we become old and ill, so we identify with the illness, and then we die. Right? So if you think 63 births, basically we've been living in that, and we've been reinforcing those sanskars. And the body has changed, the families have changed, the countries have changed, the languages have changed, but actually we've not changed that. Oh, and we've done bhakti, right? As well, bhakti's been a big part of our life. So we haven't really changed that much. The sanskars are just getting reinforced over and over and over. And maybe we would have had some in between where we went and became a monk, a nun, because what happens is some births you get so involved with family life that it's like something comes in you and you swing the other way and you go. And then maybe we had one life where we were a soldier, we went into an army, we went into that side. So sometimes the soul swings. It goes from one side, one extreme to another extreme, another. So all of these sanskars might emerge now. Don't panic. Understand yourself. Look at yourself with spinning the cycle of self-realization. This is what I would like to. And like one of our most popular teachers is Dr. Prashant Bhai. And I've known Dr. Prashant Bhai since I was a child. I think he's given the same class. I mean this in a very affectionate way. I think he's given the same class for 40 years. That I am a soul, I am separate from the drama, and this drama has got roles within it, like those of you who've heard his classes. But he basically gives that same class. But I think it is the essence of it all. Like he's just sticking to the essence that I am a soul. But what happened is my mind, intellect, and sanskar, they have changed. And now Baba is asking me to work with him to change them back again to how they were originally. And so I, the soul, was never any of those things. That was all the roles of the drama. But I was never able to be detached. So now, just be aware that these things will come up. Don't panic. Work with Baba. Persevere. You'll have good times. You'll have bad times. Some days some weeks or some months, your connection with Baba will be so wonderful. And at other times, the dark clouds of karmic account will come in your way. And you'll feel that Baba's become distant for you. Your yoga is not there. You'll doubt yourself. But don't. And all of you can always just send a quick message to me if you need a bit of reassurance. And I'll give you a motivational talk, don't worry. So what it is just perseverance. We've got to just keep going. And Baba's going to get us at the end. And what he was explaining to us last week, it's all coming up to finish. Right? It's not that, oh, suddenly all these vices have emerged, all these samskars, they never even came. Sometimes Baba says that some Brahmins used to ask him, before I became Baba, I never had these samskars. Then I became, and suddenly all these nasty things are coming inside of me that I didn't even have before. And Baba will just say, but before you weren't having a battle with Maya. You see, you were just Maya's custom. So she was not trying to trick you because you were already her. Now you're challenging Maya. Maya's going to punch back. So don't be afraid. And Baba's attitude would be, don't be weak. You're on the battlefield. Someone punches you, knocks you down, get up, punch them back again. And that's the job of a boxer. That's the job of a wrestler. Why are you just feeling sorry for yourself? The Baba will have that mentality and that attitude. So just keep going. And I can assure you that as time goes on, your yoga power will accumulate. So you will actually become more powerful than mine. Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Maladali. Well, thank you all for being here and having that great discussion. Shall we just finish with 5 minutes yoga? And I'll speak a commentary. So let's just relax the body and take our mind to the immortal throne of the forehead. And we remind ourselves that we are a soul. Ultimately, we're always just sitting on the throne of the forehead. And we look at the role, the body, the name, the form, the identities of the body, the many different roles we play. And we realize that this body is a chapter of the drama. It starts somewhere, it ends somewhere. This body has different connections. But I am an eternal soul. I belong to Shababa. I belong in the soul world. I am a traveler. I'm not really intertwined with anyone. I'm not really intertwined with anything else. And now Baba's made me a Raj Yogi. And as a Raj Yogi, I, the soul, as a yogi soul, am now learning to take only from Shababa. And as I fill myself from Shababa, I'm changing the dynamic of the mind. For half a cycle, the mind has been the agent. I've been sending it out. Go and find me fulfillment. Go and find me fulfillment through the sense organ. Go and find me fulfillment through people. Go and find me fulfillment through activities and roles. But now I say to the mind, Man Manabhav. Now, mind, your job is to fulfill me through Shabbat. I no longer need to take from the creation because I have access to the Creator. And as I fulfill myself, because Shiv Baba's love has all the attainments inside of it, and Shiv Baba's knowledge has all of the nourishment that the intellect needs. So I don't need to now take outside of the Creator. I just need to increase my chart of remembrance. So that because the mind is not in the habit of connecting only with the creator, the mind is in the habit of connecting with the creation and looking for fulfillment through the creation. But I now need to become the perfect Raj Yogi and move towards becoming a Raj Rishi. And a Raj Rishi has unlimited discipline from the ground. So I talk to my mind now as a friend, as a guide. The mind has been guiding me for half a cycle, but now I guide the mind. And I say to the mind, Manmanada. So for 1 minute, let's just concentrate on Shibbada alone. And the more time I spend with Shibbaba, the more I can begin to convince the mind that Shibbaba can fulfill all relationships with me. He can give me the right touching at the right time to do the right thing. And Shibbaba can offer that security and protection. The mind will take convincing because it's been so many thousands of years where we've been using a system of mind. But now we're going to use a different system. So we've got to keep reminding the mind to be Manmanabha. Om Shanti. So thank you all very much, those of you that were able to be with me and thought it was a really interesting topic. And those of you joining in later on through YouTube, warm greetings to you as well. And if any of you have any questions, you can always send them through on WhatsApp and we can take them up another time. So all of you, I wish you all a wonderful week. And next week is a global battery week. So we'll be having a yoga battery together next week. Om Shanti, everyone. Have a great
Okay,
week.
Om Shanti.
And great to you too. And Ranjan Ben.
Okay.